now we're here. We'll do it quietly. Chapter 5. So here we go. Chapter 5. This is no drill. A quiet calm lay over Pearl Harbor that Sunday morning. Many sailors were sleeping in late. Many others were chowing down in mess halls. Some were heading ashore for their day off. The huge battleships lay peacefully at anchor, waves lapping gently at their giant hulls. Then fighter planes, thick as hornets, darkened the sky. Yet few people were worried, at least at first. They figured that U.S. pilots were on a practice drill or putting on an air show. I love air shows. Oh, I love air shows. They're my favorite. Even the sight of bombs did not alarm one admiral. What a stupid, careless pilot, he said to himself when he saw a bomb drop from a plane. He too was sure that this was only a drill. Another officer thought a pilot was showing off when his plane swooped in very low. He looked for the reckless pilot's number and saw, instead of a red ball on the plane's wing, it was the symbol of Japan. At home, Admiral Kimmel had just put on his starched white uniform when he heard a distant boom. Running outside, he saw pillars of smoke and fire rising from Pearl Harbor. Overhead, flocks of airplanes streaked by. Kimmel took one look at the red dots on their wings, and the awful truth became clear. The Japanese were attacking. The admiral turned. As white as his uniform, said a neighbor. To be a neighbor, that who he or she or they or whatever it is, or are, or whatever. Kimmel dashed off to send the alarm. This is no drill. Man your stations. In the harbor, loudspeakers on the U.S. warships blared, "Real planes, real bombs." On every deck, sailors yelled to their mates, "Japanese attack." This is not a drill. Real planes, real bombs. Japanese planes stormed in first, screaming low over the harbor. They let loose deadly torpedoes that shot through the water like sea monsters. Underwater, the warheads went straight toward the hulls of the big ships. One after another, the U.S. ships reeled under attack. The ships seemed to explode in a chain reaction, said one eyewitness. A day that started with quiet calm had become a nightmare. Yeah. Now let's do it quietly. Let's do it quietly. Japanese attack planes. The Japanese had different warplanes to do different jobs. Fighter planes were nicknamed Zeros. They could drive low to the ground, firing machine guns located in their wings. Zeros could veer and turn with dizzying speed. None of the U.S. planes at that time could move with the speed and ease of the Zeros. Dive bombers, often called Vals, carried bombs under both wings and one huge bomb on their underside. They could swoop in low to hit their targets with true aim. High-altitude bombers, called Capes, dropped 1,700-pound bombs from high in the sky. The bombs gathered force as they plunged to earth. Other Capes dropped the special torpedoes that had been made for Pearl Harbor's shallow waters. Yeah. Oh, okay. Chapter 6. 15 Minutes of Terror. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The attack began at 7:55. The next 15 minutes were the most deadly. On board the U.S. ships, chaos ruled. Bombs killed many sailors instantly. The wounded struggled to get to battle stations and fight back. They raced over decks slick with blood and oil. Water gushed into gaping holes in the ships. On lower decks, men were trapped in flooded rooms. Oh yeah, that's right, I said it. In only 15 minutes, the Japanese managed to carry out most of the destruction at Pearl Harbor. It was 8:05 when the Oklahoma on Battleship Row took the first of 7 torpedoes. Oh yeah, that's right. Torpedoes. With the gashes on its sides, the ship was thrown into pitch blackness. Seawater poured in and the Oklahoma began to sink. Seamen were trapped below in the darkness. I was tossed and spun around, pitched into a great nothingness, said one survivor. All of us, the living, dying, and the dead, were rolled around together. Slowly sickeningly, the Oklahoma began to roll over on her side, said a witness. Within minutes, only its rounded hull showed above water. It looked like a huge dead whale. The Oklahoma hit the bottom of the harbor just 8 minutes after the first torpedo strike. 400 men died aboard the ship. At the same time as a torpedo blasted directly underneath the West Virginia and sent the crew flying. The huge warship began to topple at once. 2 more torpedoes capsized the Utah. Another split open the hull of a smaller ship called the Oglala, which would capsize 2 hours later. It was awful. Great ships were dying before my eyes, said an eyewitness. There, I said it. As U.S. ships were exploding, so were U.S. planes. As U.S. ships were exploding, so were U.S. planes. Japanese bomber planes attacked nearby airfields with fury. Their goal was to destroy planes on the ground before American pilots could get in them and fight back. The first air bases attacked were Hickam, Wheeler, Bellows, and Ewa, whatever. The planes at each were lined up close together, wingtip to wingtip. They had been parked together out in the open so they could be easily guarded from spies. Tragically, they were now wide open to attack. Well. In the first 15 minutes of the attack at Iowa, 33 of the 49 planes on the field were destroyed, with the remaining 16 too damaged to fly. Nearby at Wheeler, bombers killed hundreds of soldiers in their barracks, many of them still sleeping. At Hickam, a bomb took out dozens of planes in one shattering blast. Dive bombers were tearing the place to pieces, a witness said, but the worst was yet to come, and the mighty Arizona battleship would be target. The huge USS Arizona was home to 1,500 officers and sailors. Living there was more like living in a city than on a ship. Its giant hull was 600 feet long. Big armor covered the top decks of the ship. Heavy weapons and a highly trained crew protected it. Ammunition was stored in a hold below decks. For the first several minutes of the attack, the Arizona was able to withstand the torpedo hits. Ammunition, living quarters. Yeah. At 8:10, her mast still stood tall. At 8:10, her mast still stood tall. When a bomb came, hurtling down from 10,000 feet overhead. It pierced the Arizona's thick armor, blasted through its decks, and blew up in the hold where all the ammunition was stored. More than a million or 1 million pounds of gunpowder exploded in a towering fireball. In that single moment, over 1,000 men on the Arizona were killed. Oh, and by the way, we gotta stop here because it's getting late. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow when I finish reading this. And still, I've got 4 more chapters of this book left, simply. And this is me, AP, stopping the video, and good night. Bye.